And we're going to get started in. Go back to chat. 5, 4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for October 24th, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Nintendo is looking for outside help to make more Switch games because it's busy with something else. And we've got a bunch of updates on games you never thought would come out. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa. Jan, how are you doing?
I cannot. I think it finally happened, Grubb, and I'm kind of ashamed. I'm kind of scared to admit this.
Yep.
This is a safe space, especially on this website. I think I may have tangentially been bit by the K-pop bug. Finally, I've been wondering. I've been like every day. I'm like, is it going to finally get Jan? Is Jan going to become one of us? It's this stupid APT song with, I think her name is Rose.
Okay.
She's from Blackpink.
Sure.
And my gambling brother, Bruno Mars. An icon for short kings out there.
Yep.
The level of Riz and chemistry off the charts, Grubb. I can't stop listening to this dang song.
I've not heard
it. The kids are onto something.
Okay. I'll have to check this out. Yeah, I like that. K-pop is not just pop music. It is just popular music everywhere now, and there's sort of no difference, no delineation really anymore. But I will check this song out and listen to it. I've been like in the mood for new music, like actual new music, not music new to me. I've been like, well, what are the kids listening to, and finding it mostly pretty good these days.
It turns out you can keep making new music. We don't have to keep listening to ghost choral ladies singing over organ music.
Yes, we don't have to. We do.
We don't have to.
But we don't have to do that anymore. So I'm going to go right now and I'll go listen to the Chainsmokers. I don't know, the hottest of the hot.
Actually, Grubb, I saw you tweeting about this several weeks ago asking what Turbo Granny is. You don't have to investigate what Turbo Granny is, but I do.
Too late.
Okay, well, I highly suggest everyone check out the opening theme song to the new anime Dan to Dan. I think the artist that behind it is Creepy Nuts. So check it out.
She gobbles wieners.
Yeah.
Turbo Granny out there doing her thing, and I am so proud of her, living her best life.
Let me tell you, for the fellow anime freaks out there, episode 3. Grubb said it earlier. Mother, I'm going to say grandmother.
Shout outs to all the Turbo Grannies out there. Dan to Dan. People have mentioned to me several times now that the opening sequence is very good. So I will check that as well. I
don't throw it into your workout playlist though, because you will gas yourself out.
Okay, I don't want to hurt myself. Uzumaki. That's also like on Max. I think I want to read that first before I watch that. That's Junji Ito. Yeah. I want to read that. I think
people have said that to me as well. Read it first, and then
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, just read it. Okay, people are not happy with the show. Okay. No need to. Okay, people are all around just not very happy with it. Fair enough.
Okay.
That saves me some time. Always looking for reasons not to watch TV shows. Find a lot of them all over the place. You know what? Let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with players are streaming Nintendo Switch Online playtest despite requests not to. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Several users are streaming Nintendo's currently ongoing Nintendo Switch Online playtest, despite one of the conditions of joining the playtest being that players can't share information about the game. VGC can verify that several players have streamed the test on YouTube and Kick, with clips of the test quickly being reposted on social media, despite the original streams being taken down. The test, which was announced earlier this month, is simply named Nintendo Switch Online, Playtest Program, and began earlier this week, and where it will run until November 6th. Players who successfully signed up for the mystery test were sent documentation on the program, including a series of requirements for those looking to participate. One of these is a requirement to keep contents of the test secret. The page reads, "We request that you do not discuss or disclose content from either the Nintendo Switch Online playtest program, test software, or website with others. Based on other similar tests, it's perhaps unsurprising that these streams have appeared. Despite Nintendo's attempts to remove the streams on their original platforms, the proliferation of footage from the project has lifted any veil of secrecy around it." Screenshots of the game appeared earlier this week that appear to show a game that looks similar to Minecraft, but with various beacons containing separate play areas placed on a giant planet. The higher your beacon is placed, the wider its beacon zone becomes. The app says it's all it's a lot. It's a lot. I watched a little bit of people playing, and it looks buck wild. This game looks buck wild, Jan.
Grubb, I think if we flood Nintendo jail with enough people, we'll all break out together.
You can't arrest us all, right? That's what they say. You can't arrest us all.
Yeah.
You wouldn't stream a playtest, would you? I would, if everyone else was doing it.
I would.
Yeah.
I also saw some clips circulating. I was kind of seeking them out because I knew the gamers would not abide by the rules.
The gamers don't abide. That's right.
That's right. It is very different than what I was expecting.
Yes. So based on kind of what we're seeing out there, there is, first of all, you do look like a little Tale of the Sun character. That is the closest point of reference I can think of. They have, it looks like you pick your hair color, and it's just a whole like dome of hair all around. Like, so there's hair in the back, but then there's hair in the front, and there's two little eyes. There is a Spider-Man swinging gameplay mechanic for getting around that you can like grab onto anything. So it's like you can grab on the floor, and that'll like jut you forward, and it looks pretty cool actually. And there's a double jump where you have a tail that spins in the air, and it keeps you like propellering forward. It looks like a lot. Like, as far as like the structure of what you're supposed to be doing in this game, I'm still lost on that. I really don't know. I'm going to play this for myself here pretty soon, but I won't be able to talk about that. I'll be able to talk about other people, I guess, leaking online.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
I also wonder, it seems like this is a completely new design from anything Nintendo has previously done, unless they're scraping the bottom of the barrel for things that are super obscure in their existing catalog. It doesn't seem familiar at all. And it just seems like Nintendo is trying to enter a genre not even late to the party, just like, why?
It feels like they didn't even know there was another party. Like, there was a party, and everyone was there, and everyone was having a good time. And then Nintendo's like, we're going to have this party. And everyone's like, we've been at this one for 20 years. What are you talking about? And they're like, well, we have no idea what you mean. Our party is very different. And it really seems that way. I think that, again, going back to what we know about this from data miners and things like that, it is from EPD4, Entertainment Planning Division 4, Labo, the Weird Studio. And this is extremely weird. And I'm kind of like, at the very least, in terms of it being an MMO from Nintendo, weird is kind of a best case scenario, because boring and familiar would be the worst case. They'd be like, okay, I have no need to even try this. It's probably like if it's a WoW but worse, or like maybe in Nintendo's case, like some of the like Ultima Online but worse. So like an old MMO that like doesn't have a lot of modern quality of life features. Yeah, it's not that though. It is very much not that. It is a shared communal space with a lot of people running around on the same server at the same time, and it has just different ways of interacting with each other and the game, and it kind of still has that Nintendo, oh, it's fun to control based on, again, what we saw. So yeah, I'm still very curious. Who knows if I'll have time to actually get in there and spend a lot of time, because I'm going to be playing a lot of Astro still, because I'm a sick bastard.
No, we know. You're not a sick bastard, Grubb. It needs to be done.
It does need to be done. So I like I said, I played the new level came out this morning. I did one real run of that. I just got the time in there, kind of like seeing what it was all about. And immediately, I didn't say anything. Immediately after I submitted my time, Dan, who had apparently been playing for a while this morning, was like, "Hey, beat you. See you on the next stage." So already, after like pretty much getting left behind in the last stage, already talking shit on this stage. So I have to. You're right. But in the meantime, Nintendo continues to be very weird. Speaking of Nintendo, go ahead.
No. I just really appreciate whatever it is that Nintendo's doing, because with most, if not all of their efforts, they wind up developing a very odd cult audience for a lot of their games. I mean, even ARMS has its very niche, strong community. And we saw how much Splatoon blew up, and creating its own subculture around even just the music in Splatoon. I'm very curious. Also, knowing that it's the Labo people, I'm interested to see what they would do with just a regular decular game versus having to incorporate the cardboard, because a lot of parts of Labo were really, really intricate.
Oh yeah.
And like the further you dived into it, the wilder the tools actually were. I think it was just very intimidating in an arduous process to build all of the cardboard before you could even explore any of the cool bits.
Yeah, and it's looking, with this game, we knew that based on the early leaks, that there's going to be some sort of building, some sort of Minecraft-like feature. It seems like that is a really simplified in terms of its input. Like Tears of the Kingdom style, like, hey, we're going to use the ultra hand grab things and piece them together. This seems like a much simpler version of that, where like the character goes around and does like sumo wrestler hands to boxes, and if he does that to two boxes that are next to each other, it'll connect those two boxes. But you can then like do that in like a chain, so you can make like a stair step thing like pretty easily. And it's like, I mean, Nintendo's trying to make this very open and friendly and feel like it pops, like it has like a juiciness to it that is satisfying. I'm like curious to see like what the upper limits are of that for like user generated content, like what people are going to be able to pull off. Because right now it just looks like block building, which is going to have its place. I know it's a big part of what they're going for here, but is it going to be too simple or too weird or too esoteric or not matter to people, and they're just going to stick with their Lego Fortnites and their Minecrafts? Probably, but really just kind of want to see where this all goes. I hope we are not too far off from them being like, and this thing is just out. I kind of hope it is a matter of, we did this test and then a month later, now it's out for everybody. But maybe it's going to take quite a bit longer than that. I don't know. All right. Speaking of Nintendo, as I said, Nintendo is apparently, according to rumors, courting third parties for Switch remasters, while Nintendo itself is busy with Switch 2. The Switch 2 rumor mill continues to churn with no signs of slowing down. Nintendo had previously stated back in May that a proper announcement of the console would be happening before the end of the fiscal year this coming March. It is now October, and the fiscal year will be ending in just 5 months. So all that there is to go on is rumors. For example, PH Brazil is now saying that Nintendo is allegedly courting some third-party developers to release some remasters on Nintendo's hybrid console, while Nintendo themselves remain busy with the Switch 2. PH Brazil notes that games that are planned for being remastered on the Switch include Splinter Cell Blacklist and Driver 1 and 2, and Rayman 3 is also mentioned, though PH Brazil mentions that they're not sure if this is related to today's Rayman rumors. We'll get to those. Not everything specifically named, however, not everything was specifically named. Ubisoft has 2 more games that weren't mentioned specifically that they plan to remaster for the Switch. EA has some Wii games coming. Meanwhile, Bandai Namco has something in the works as well. Though it only mentioned that they have a PS3 game being remastered, they apparently have something else, but it is unknown as to what it is exactly. Yeah, okay. I mean, I think that these companies, maybe they get the call from Nintendo and Nintendo says, hey, can we get some help? Can you like remaster something easy, something that'd be like not a lot of work to get over there? I could see some of these companies being like, all right, yeah, let's help out Nintendo because we want to be in good with them for the Switch 2, I guess. But we also know that, like, once the Switch 2 is out, I think there's a chance that like interest in buying older games for the Switch 1 will probably take a pretty significant hit. So I'm not expecting big things for these. But I don't know if there's like some interesting ports. Maybe I would check some of this stuff out. But I probably what's going to happen is there's going to be a time like 10 years from now, like that game came to the Switch. When did that happen?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It came out in 2024, 2025, when I was paying attention to the Switch too, right?
Yeah. I think it's still a valuable audience to try and target, though,
Clearly.
because Nintendo wouldn't be thinking about this if they didn't do the math already of like, all right, let's get the suckers that don't want to follow the zeitgeist and jump to the next console, or people that may not be as plugged in, like families, households that keep buying Switches for new kids or replacing old Switches. I could see this as a super valuable strategy, especially if they're remastering, GBA games, Grubb.
Yeah, sure.
Or like DS games, 3DS games.
More collections of those, like the Dominus collection. Yeah.
Yeah. Games that don't necessarily need that second screen to be adapted to anything else, because, for some DS, 3DS games, the gimmick wore off very quickly and it just became another menu.
Yeah, map, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that can be adapted to the Switch pretty easily. There's a bunch of hidden gems, even from both of those handhelds that are sorely missing. I don't see them winding up on like the virtual console for the GBA. So
right.
give me. This is already a strong year for RPGs, Grubb. Give me more of them, though.
Yeah. Put Stuntman for Game Boy Advance.
It's a good game.
It's a good game. It's a really good game. Yeah, I talking about this, I wonder if that My Sims remaster that we keep hearing about, which I don't know if it's gotten confirmed yet. Maybe it did get confirmed. I know people talk openly about it. But My Sims coming to Switch feels like maybe it might be part of this. And I bet EA's like, oh yeah, maybe we should do My Sims. That's like kind of fits in with our strategy anyhow of what we're doing with the Sims. So yeah, maybe we could do that. I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of these conversations. And I think something like that, yeah, that could do really well on the Switch, because the Switch clearly going to be, my kids are playing more Switch now than they ever have before.
Yeah.
And that's not going to change even when the Switch 2 comes out. That's going to be the system that they're going to be picking up most frequently. And I think parents and families will continue being like, oh, yeah, we are going to want to get some games here. Sims is a name I recognize. My Sims is the one for younger children. Okay, yeah, here's some money. I think ports like that make some sense. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, EA is porting some Wii games. What else could they be working on? I'm not sure. Probably not going to be doing Boom Blocks. I don't think they want to do a motion control only game, but who knows? Maybe.
Hey, maybe they want to make Burnout 3 for the Switch.
Okay, well, yeah, did they put Burnout Paradise on there? Burnout 3 on the Switch would rule. That would be awesome.
Oh my god!
Honestly, just re-release Burnout 3 with full online features for all the consoles. Like, just so it's like got an active, like we could all take, the hot swapping the seat for the crash course levels. I would love that. That's a good score chasing game.
100%. Also, there's like a whole slew of GameCube games, Grubb, that you could throw out there. There's Billy Hatcher. There was like a Wario game for the GameCube, right? Like a 3D-ish platformer.
Wario World, which is actually not too bad. It's made by Treasure, which a beloved studio. It got dinged at the time for being a bit too short, but Mike played it recently, and he's like, "Yeah, that doesn't matter anymore. This is just a good game." So yeah, that'd be cool. That would be awesome to see.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at like what else did EA have on the Wii? SSX Blur. Littlest Pet Shop Friends. Okay.
Oh,
let's do it. Nerf End Strike. The Simpsons game. Yeah.
Yeah, they could put out some Simpsons games on.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like licensing issues with like Disney. Yeah,
Disney.
I don't know. Maybe Disney would be fine with that.
Get John Drake on the phone.
Get John Drake on the phone. EA Playground. Okay, yeah, My Sims is probably the one. that's probably the one that they're gonna just keep porting. Okay, let's see here. Back over to the stories. This is a section of we're gonna call it, hey, is that game actually gonna come out? We have 3 stories all like that. This first one is maybe a little bit more. I don't know. We'll just talk about it. Ubisoft confirms it's exploring new Rayman ideas amid reports of a remake. This is from Ethan Gotch at Kotaku. Let's see. The original Rayman is the game that put Ubisoft on the map. It's been over a decade since the last installment of the colorful platformer franchise. But the French publisher is currently in the, quote, early stages of exploring what will come next for the series. The series' titular limbless hero. We are pleased to confirm Ubisoft Montpellier and Ubisoft Milan have recently started an exploration phase on the Rayman brand, a spokesperson for Ubisoft told Kotaku in an email. The project is still in its early stages, and we will share more details later. While a new Rayman might not be ready for some time, the upcoming project seems to be more than just an exploration at this point. Ubisoft's statement came after Insider Gaming reported that a Rayman remake, codenamed Project Steambot, is in early development, and the former members of the Prince of Persia Lost Crown team were moved to this new project after a sequel to that game was canceled amid disappointing sales. Insider Gaming also reported that the original creator of Rayman, Michel Ancel, was consulting on the project, a move which rankled some developers at Ubisoft due to the former director's reputation for toxic leadership. Yeah, that's rough. I mean, this is, kind of a little bit of a car wreck, because a lot of this is coming out because people are like, what the hell's going on with the Prince of Persia Lost Crown team? They're getting disbanded. What does that mean? Well, a lot of them are going to go work on Rayman. And now Ubisoft is like, we're in the early stages of making Rayman. Isn't that exciting? Ignore that you're not getting any more sequels to The Lost Crown, a game that everyone loved. We're going to start making Rayman now. And it's like, well, you're just going to do the same thing to Rayman. So why would I get excited?
Yeah.
I mean, this does feel like something that, like, yeah, Ubisoft bouncing around from Prince of Persia, 2D Prince of Persia, to making a new Rayman. That sounds about right for that company. This is one I think probably does actually come out, or at least they put a decent amount of work into it.
I'm a little bit skeptical, Grubb, because
I don't blame you.
I mean, several reasons other than it being Ubisoft. I feel like the last couple 2D Rayman games, I mean, the last couple ones have been 2D, have a certain style that takes a lot of work to pull off.
Yeah, the UB art style, yeah.
Yeah, that UB art style is not an easy thing to just flip around. And what type of Rayman game would they try and explore? Do they want does Ubisoft get thrown off about the lack of success, and do they tie the lack of success to Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown being because it's a 2D game versus a 3D game?
I think there's a strong chance of that.
Do they see the success of the Astrobot and assume like, okay, people want 3D platformers, but I just don't think Ubisoft is the healthiest company right now to make this pivot and dive into Rayman in a substantial way. Also, there's a certain type of whimsy, I guess, with Rayman that I think has been lacking at the company from like the bigger side of the company, not the on the ground devs at all, but like, I feel like any type of whimsy that Rayman would try and present would get stamped out from the powers that be above the devs.
Yeah, I think they're like, let's make this more palatable, to a mainstream, wider audience, and that would rub off some of the rough edges. I'm hopeful. I think a new Rayman would be fun. I think especially at this time, maybe go back to a 3D Rayman. And if they are scared of what happened to the Prince of Persia game because it's 2D, maybe then that means, invest in making a 3D Rayman. They've done that in the past. Some of them were very good. And I think, I would like to see another 3D platformer kind of doing new things out there. That would be great to see. But that's also a bigger scope necessarily than 2D. So that feels like it makes it less likely, because what they're trying to do here is make something that is, I think, affordable, cheap to make, and can do decently well in terms of sales. So where they fall on that side of the argument of like, hey, do we make this investment because we think it'll sell better, or do we pull back and scale and just say, hey, it's Rayman, it's going to sell no matter what, and to that audience of Rayman fans, and so we should try to spend as little on this as possible. I think it could go either way.
Yeah, and also that's got to be an insane amount of pressure internally of like, okay, we got to make a hit, we got to make a banger, or our team is gonna get dispersed to the winds. It sucks, Grubb.
It's not great.
Also, I know that our particular audience, our group of pocket on the internet, may be clamoring for more Rayman, but how much name recognition does Rayman have now versus the Rabbids?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Rabbids probably have more name recognition than Rayman does at this point. Yeah, that doesn't mean I think they should still make a Rayman instead of a Rabbids. Rabbids has a certain. I think you bring back the Rabbids at some point. I think they should make a Rabbids party game, a new one. I think they made one in the past. Make a new one of those. Give it a couple years before it comes out, and let the people yearn for Rabbids again. They could probably make that work, but in the meantime, I don't think they should ignore Rayman because of that. But I think you're right that it's not going to be some cultural cachet that they are cashing in. With Rayman, it's going to be like, this was the guy that the Rabbids came from for a lot of people.
Eves, get on the phone here. Get ready to cut me a check. Get ready to Zelle me a check. You can Venmo me. No one else. Here's what you do. Let's exploit the Rabbids while we're at it. Let's get a Rabbids Pikmin Let's throw a bunch of different Rabbids at some stuff, make it work. Humanity, let's get that, but with Rabbids.
Yeah,
those are my two ideas, Eves. Cut me the check. Cut the check.
I think do a lot of more fun stuff with Rabbids. Yeah, take like these other genres and just make the silly version with Rabbids. I would welcome that. I never minded the Rabbids all that much. They were not. I prefer Pikmin in terms of we're talking about whimsical creatures that you throw around. But Rabbids were fine. All right, the second in this trilogy of Will This Ever Come Out? Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still alive and slowly moving forward with new leadership. This is from Ethan Gotch at Kotaku. A new Beyond Good and Evil game from Ubisoft was first officially teased back in 2008. Over 15 years later, Beyond Good and Evil 2 hasn't seen the light of day, but it still eventually might. Despite years of stalled production punctuated by high-profile departures and tragedy, the ambitious open-world sequel remains in development and continues its slow march forward under new leadership. The co-op space pirate follow-up to the cult hit sci-fi 2003 game made its big debut at E3 2017 with hands-off demos from the following year. Those presentations made a lot of promises about its procedurally generated planetary cities, third-person action combat, and seamless transition to outer space, and were led by Beyond Good and Evil creator Michel Ancel and senior producer Guillermo Brunier, neither of whom are still with the project. Ancel left Ubisoft in 2020 amid reports of toxic leadership and chaotic direction, although he's now back consulting on a new Rayman project. Brunier was removed from Beyond Good and Evil 2 earlier this year, sources told Kotaku at the time, following years of gridlock and indecision about scope, features, and design trade-offs. Taking his place was Francis Colbioff, a nearly 30-year veteran of Ubisoft who had already been working on the game as a producer. Brunier would transition to another project with Ubisoft, a spokesperson from Ubisoft told Kotaku back in July. We'd like to thank Yellow for his leadership in developing the game over the years. Okay, yeah. There's like a little bit more here, but mostly it's like, okay, they're shuffling around leadership. They're making changes with the idea of, maybe this is a game we're going to release one day. I mean, the game they showed off, or they first teased in 2008. Then the trailers that they show in 2017 and 2018. All those feel so long ago that they can't possibly be relevant to the work that people are doing today. But boy, they continue to insist that this is something that is going to actually come out one day. And the most recent tangible concrete evidence we have of that, Jan, is in the Beyond Good and Evil 2 remaster, or Beyond Good and Evil 1 remaster, that came out earlier this year. That was very well done. People really liked it. It had small, tiny little references to Beyond Good and Evil 2 in there, as if, hey, yeah, the team that's doing that work, they provided this so we could put it in here. And now they're going to link together. And Beyond Good and Evil 2, the prequel to Beyond Good and Evil 1, it's going to matter to this story. How about this one, Jan? You believe this one?
I still don't actually believe this one.
Yeah.
There are other games, Grubb, that feel more tangible and more real that are still years away from coming out. We haven't had or seen anything new from Spoon Heaven 2
Right.
in a hot minute. Haunted Chocolatier, right, is another game that's like that's a real game, but that's gonna take a couple years.
Yeah, it's on pause right now. I think the developer went back to a Stardew Valley in a real way.
Yeah. But Beyond Good and Evil 2, especially with whatever scope that they're looking at and then the expectations that they're trying to fulfill, Grubb, it seems like a fool's errand to try and do it. Because yeah, at this point, whatever they showed us previously isn't applicable now. They would have had to redo whatever they showed us back then anyway. So it feels like this is Ubisoft grasping at straws, hoping to placate whatever audience is around to like say, hey, calm down. We're gonna make the thing that you wanted instead.
Yeah, and it's this company we looked over at Skull and Bones whenever we got the urge to be like, what's going on with that thing? And it was like they're still going to release that. And the reason they're still releasing that is not that they have this sunk cost fallacy that they're addicted to. It's they got a tax break, a tax credit, or whatever. They got money from the Singaporean government for Ubisoft Singapore to oversee that project and work with the other teams around the world. But that's money they got, and now they are obligated to put that game out according to the agreement that they had with Singapore. So that's why they are, no matter what, eventually going to release some form of Skull and Bones, and they did. But it's like, okay, well, what is that happening with Beyond Good and Evil 2? I don't think so. Why is this the project you haven't like canceled or scrapped or said that you're restarting? It's like, no, this entire time you've been working on this project and it's still mostly the game that you promised originally in 2008. And you've had people sort of sitting there in gridlock and indecision on they can't decide the scope of it, and that's been the problem. Like people have been on this team actively all this time. What is like who's at the wheel over there at Ubisoft? Who is like who's making studio visits and not laying down the law, but like just cracking the whip a little bit and saying like, come on guys, we got to focus up. Like, let's actually get this work done and make some progress here. And it feels like that just isn't even something that ever happens for decades at a time for these projects. It's bizarre.
I understand, Grubb, because this has happened to this specific to our website where smaller teams can generally skate underneath the radar under like very big scrutiny, but that only can happen for so long until people realize we've been paying these people what are they doing? Oh, okay, let's look at what they're doing. Oh, okay, cool. Keep doing what you're doing. But that can't happen, Grubb, for like decades at a time.
Yeah.
Especially when resources are so finite when it comes to developers, and people that made the original Beyond Good and Evil may be more useful somewhere else, or are they using it? Have they been using it as like a pipeline of talent? And unfortunately, with Beyond Good and Evil 2, it is facing not even an uphill battle, Grubb. It is the steepest climb. It is it is the tallest ladder covered in oil to try and climb, because not only are you trying to save Ubisoft's reputation, you're fighting Ubisoft's reputation.
Yeah.
And also with like the major gaming audience that have been following the development of this game or lack of updates on this game, there's still the JGLs think on it, right? There's still like the joke of like, well, what's Joseph Gordon-Levitt been doing with this game?
Yeah,
even though
is he gonna like make me do work and not pay me? Yeah.
I'm sure that his involvement with the game ceased maybe a couple months after that.
Oh, yes. He probably hasn't even thought about Beyond Good and Evil 2, which is a failure on our part. We need to ask him every time we see him. Next time I see him, I'll ask him. But yeah, there's so many like weird things that have happened with this game. And I think it was a weird thing from the beginning, because they were like, here is this prequel with this man ape guy, and he's going to be hopping around. It's going to be this space pirate game. I'm like, okay, well, some of that stuff sounds cool, but why is that Beyond Good and Evil? Can you just make a Zelda clone like you did last time. That worked out pretty well. You were the one of the few companies that did that and did it pretty well.
Yeah. And we've seen so many instances of Zelda clones or like fantastic third-person action games. For as much as this website likes to poo-poo on Horizon, Horizon has captured like a very strong portion of the gaming audience that I'm sure those same people would be interested in a Beyond Good and Evil 2, whatever that's going to look like.
What the hell?
I don't know.
On the hitrecord.org website, Beyond Good and Evil 2 community collaboration is still up and live and says it's an open project. This has just got to be sort of a vestige of when this site was actually a going concern. Is HitRecord still a thing? There's a copyright that says 2024 on the bottom of the website, so someone had to update that at the very least. What the hell? That is bonkers. Why wouldn't you just take that down?
Here's what we do, Grubb. I think the insane idea I'm about to propose is more probable than Beyond Good and Evil 2 coming out.
All right.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he's bound to do another movie soon.
Sure.
He's like an actor. He's got to do work. Our dear friend Bailey Myers sometimes gets put on these press junkets to interview people.
Oh, yeah.
Next time JGL is out on doing these press junkets, we'll make sure that Bailey Myers gets assigned to it. And then that's the one question she asks.
And then it's on site with the Beyond Good and Evil 2 questions.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Does he play games?
I don't know. He hits record. I think that's what he does. And then he's all being all cute about it. I don't know. All right. And then, okay. Oh, this one. Phil Spencer says he has been playing Everwild while visiting Rare this week. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor. Jan, do you even remember Everwild at all?
I had to look it up while we were talking about Beyond Good and Evil, and I watched the trailer. Did not remember where the hell I saw this.
Yes, it was at an Xbox Games Showcase. I think the first time they started talking about Xbox Series X and S games, I think. So yes, Everwild is the Rare game, not Rare as in Rare Limited.
The studio.
Yes, the studio. It had I'll try to describe this trailer. It's a painterly look, kind of open world looking thing, stylized. Characters of different stripes. Some people that have indigenous vibes in this land. There are monsters. They're walking around. The point is, it sounds like, okay, well, what is the game? We never really knew. And it sounds like, I was told at the time when it was like, there was some folks, it was like, okay, a bunch of these games got announced from all these studios for Xbox. When are any of these coming out? And Everwild was one that's like, oh, that one might never come out because they didn't even really know what the game was when they announced it. And they're still figuring that out now. And also, some people that were very important to that process have left Rare and are doing different things. So maybe someone else will take over that project. It's like, well, if you didn't even know what it was, why would anyone take over that project? Okay, Phil Spencer says he was there and played it after its much acclaimed announcement 5 years ago. There's been more or less silence about Rare's upcoming title, Everwild. And for a long time, the rumors about the game were all about development hiccups. Lately, however, it's been the opposite, with the admittedly knowledgeable journalists like Windows Central editor Jez Corden saying that development of Everwild is going well. A sign that Corden is right and that things are actually moving forward come from Microsoft's gaming boss himself, Phil Spencer. Via Threads, Spencer announced that he visited Rare this week, and apparently Everwild is now in playable condition, as he also writes, "Great day at Rare, hanging out with the developers at their desks and playing Everwild. We suspect it may still be a while before we see any tangible evidence of Everwild's status, but it's obviously by no means abandoned, and Spencer reminding us about this is a good sign." Okay, yeah, there's every reason in the world to be like, if you didn't know what you were making at the time, you announced it a bit early. That happens. It's not a great look, but I think people are ready to accept that happens sometimes at Microsoft, or did happen, and maybe you've learned from that and you won't do that anymore. At the same time, it's equally viable to be like, hey, we announced this thing. Sure, we didn't know what it was. Does someone want to step up and take over and provide their own vision for what this could be? And it sounds like they went that route, and I'm curious. I think Rare has the potential to do stuff that's interesting. They are sort of like Microsoft's weirdish studio. but I don't know, man. It continues to feel very odd to me.
Yeah. Out of the three stories we've just talked about, Grub, I feel like all of them are on similar levels of
Yes.
not coming out,
Yeah.
and just kind of being smoke games where it's like, all right, I see it, but I can't really touch it. Um, and this just feels like such a unnecessary statement to put out, because who in 2024 is thinking about Everwild? Uh, who's on the Everwild beat?
Yeah, it's kind of like, wouldn't the like reappearance of Everwild as an asset at the next Xbox showcase have been way more effective than, hey, I played Everwild? I mean, I guess Silent
Right.
Life, that's there's something to be said for that. I don't think this is a problem that he
No.
did this, but it's I think it just continues to be like, okay, hey, what could that possibly look like? Why should I care? And you can answer some of those questions with like, here's a cool gameplay trailer at the next Xbox showcase for Everwild, a game that is coming out in early 2026. Like those are all things that like, okay, we've answered some questions there and we've given reason to like pique your curiosity. This is just like presenting me with more questions than answers.
Yeah, it's more questions. Even doing that, Grub, of putting out a trailer and putting out an arbitrary date, I still feel like isn't helpful, especially with a game that has a history like Everwild. Everwilds. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Because, what is the expectation there? Where's the excitement there? I'd rather be at a concrete thing of like, this is coming out in a month.
Yeah.
Versus this smoke and mirrors approach of saying like, no, it's coming out. And I know that we criticize Xbox all the time of not putting out more games, but I don't think you satisfy that criticism by saying I'm playing the game.
Yeah,
it's coming out.
It's on the other side of there's equal criticisms, or maybe not equal, but also they are criticized often for talking about games too early when there's not much to show, and we're in an industry that gets criticized for being secretive as well, of course. So I guess this a little bit of openness makes sense, but we talk about software plus art. It's a complicated business to actually get these products out, and sometimes it begins to feel like we are blowing a little bit of smoke and trying to make the future of the library feel stronger than what it is by, puffing up these games that really there's not much there yet. So if there's not enough to show this game yet, specifically Everwild, I think if you went there and said, I'm playing something else, or was at a different studio and said, I'm playing this game that we all know is going to come out from a studio that didn't have these issues, it would maybe be different. But for this one, it's like, it probably would have been more effective if you didn't talk about it now. Wait until you're ready to actually show it. If that is next year or even longer, whatever. Because tomorrow this game's going to be right back in the same place where it was before in people's minds, which is I will care about this when they give me a reason to care about it.
Yeah. Does talking about it now and not have anything prepared to show or a date hurt this game more than letting it just sit in the background of someone's brain?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. And then Cyrus Raven just said, say you're playing Doom, Phil. And I just remembered that Doom game's coming out like next year, the one that's like the medieval Doom. Holy hell, that game looks so cool. I can't wait.
Thank God it's next year.
Yes, I know, right? All right, before we move on this section, back when we were talking about Skull and Bones coming out from Singapore, ETT in chat said, I thought there were strict laws in Singapore against dropping trash. And I thought that was a very good joke, and I just wanted to call it out. So well
Hot
done
fire.
there. Well done. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, plenty more headlines to talk about, including expectations for Black Ops 6 on Game Pass, a Monster Hunter beta, and more right after this. All right, let's get right back into it, and let's start here with Analysts suggest Black Ops 6 could lead to between 2.5 million and 4 million new Game Pass subscribers. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. And the headline's mostly the story. I think this is from, Piers Harding Rolls, an analyst over at Ampere. He's the chief games analyst, and he expects that there could be as much as a 10% increase in the number of Game Pass Ultimate subscribers, which makes sense sort of across the board, because Ultimate is the one where you get Xbox Live Gold with that, which it's not called that anymore, but You get that, and then on top of that, you get all the bonuses. And so people can, if you're going to need online to play Call of Duty anyhow, people can justify, be like, oh, well, maybe I'll just get Call of Duty through that, and then I'll have both, and that takes care of itself. So it's going to be a somewhat easy argument that people can make themselves to justify making that purchase, at least, for enough to represent 10% growth for a service that has around 30 million subscribers, give or take, 2 to 3 million at any given time. We talked about this with Lucy yesterday, Jan, and I sort of fell into a position where I think, and I think that the evidence supports this. I think the way that they talk about it supports this, that Microsoft has already basically moved on from Game Pass is everything. Game Pass is a part of the strategy. It is important as releasing games and hardware and all this other stuff. But the time where I think Phil Spencer and Satya Nadella's reimbursement, their payment, was tied to the performance of Game Pass, I think that's over, because now it'll be tied to how well stuff like Call of Duty performs. And so I think 4 to 6 million, what was it, 2.5 to 4 million, excuse me, that's good, and they want that, and that is part of the benefit of having Call of Duty. But I think that doesn't change anything for Game Pass now going forward. What do you think?
It just makes sense that this is one of their attacks, Grubb, because they've definitely, no matter how many people, diehard Xbox fans, will argue and try and slide into my replies on any tweet, will say that Xbox has de-emphasized the actual box and is pushing Game Pass 100% more so than the actual console at this point.
Yeah.
This is going to be a strong injection for Game Pass. I just don't know. I mean, I guess people will play COD continuously until the next one.
Yeah.
Or until their friends bounce off and go to another game. So this is at least a strong injection for the service. I just don't know, how do you get those people that are coming to Game Pass specifically for COD to check out the other offerings? I mean, like Lucy's example yesterday was very telling, that she has a family member that is a gamer, but was completely unaware of Game Pass as a service existing. So I just don't know, how do you attack and convert those people that are just coming to a console for COD to stay there for Game Pass, and let that be another subscription that they choose to pay for, because they can get a bunch of games.
Yeah, I think the answer is that, like, Microsoft has been a services company for a very long time, and so for a minute there, that meant, hey, Game Pass is the service. And I think what happened the second the $69 million deal with Activision closed was, what's a bigger service than Game Pass by far is Call of Duty. Call of Duty is a service, and it's got a bunch of different tiers and prongs and things that we can grow, and it's got a service on mobile, and it's got a service on consoles and PC, and then there's the live service aspects of the game that we sell outside of like Warzone, and it makes more money than all this stuff. So, and we can combine that with Minecraft and all these other things that we have are operating as services, and those are the platforms now. Those are the platforms we're focused on, because that's how we see people behaving. They are no longer just coming to Xbox for Xbox games. They are going to Call of Duty because that's the platform that their friends play on, and so we're gonna shift our thinking to embrace that. And I don't think that leaves a ton of space for them to emphasize Game Pass the way they once were, where it was, if that succeeds, then that is Xbox succeeding. Now it's like, oh yeah, if Game Pass grows, that's awesome. But it's growing it's growing, but it's growing while Call of Duty is also growing our business elsewhere. So it's going to continue to be this piece of the pie that it already is, which I think Phil Spencer has said it's 15% of what they make, and it has been for a while, and they expect it to kind of always be that. And I think that is exactly where it's going to land.
Yeah, I just think about my own friends and like their gaming habits, and I think they would, if they found out that COD, the next Call of Duty, was not going to be available for the PlayStation 5, which is where they all play Call of Duty now, I think they might look for another game.
Yeah.
I don't think they would be incentivized to buy a whole new console, or like get a PC and sign up for Game Pass or whatever to check out the next Call of Duty. I think that audience may start shifting to some other game. And it's interesting that there hasn't been like a worthy competitor to step up to the Call of Duty plate to try and capture that audience.
Yep, definitely. All right, now I got a trio of PSAs, kind of just alerts for everybody. First, there's a quadrilogy, excuse me. In chat, let's see here, someone mentioned that the free Godzilla DLC for Dave the Diver is going to get delisted in 1 month. So if you download it now, you'll continue to have access to it. Or no, if you download it now, then you can have access to it, and if you keep it, I think on Steam you'll be able to continue to download it as long as you like claim it. I think that's right. But either way, you should go get it now. Just go get that free DLC so you don't miss out on it. Next, a Monster Hunter Wilds open beta launches next week with early access for PlayStation Plus members. This is from VGC. Capcom has announced the beta. It's open. It's coming to PS5, Xbox Series X, and S, and Steam this month, with early access for PlayStation Plus starting on October 28th. Everyone else, I think it opens October 31st. I'm going to check this out, I think.
Let's go, Grubb.
So it's going to be a busy time. A lot of other games coming out, but this is the Monster Hunter I fully want to throw myself into. I had some fun with Worlds, with Monster Hunter Worlds, Monster Hunter World. And then I never really tried the Switch one, Rise, I think. Yeah, I know people really like that. I think this one's going to bring together everything. It's going to be really good, and we'll do some connectivity compadres or whatever, and make the most of it. And I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that team has learned the best lessons from Worlds and Rise, and it seems like they're incorporating all of that into Wild.
All that. I'm gonna do my stuff with Alan Wake 2 DLC teasing Control 2 from Blair Marnell at VGC. This is a PSA because they're like this might be something you want to like see in context and discover discover what it actually is on your own. I did not include the actual details here for fear of spoilers. I know its existence in the game alone many of you will consider to be a spoiler. But this is maybe, I thought this was the best of both worlds, where I can kind of urge you, go play it now if you are worried about seeing this outside of the context of playing the Lake House DLC for Alan Wake 2. But boy, very cool that they're teasing Control 2. I am like more and more every day thinking, God, I really liked Control. That was good.
Yeah, Control is fucking amazing, huh? I have no time to check out the Lake House, but I really want to check out the Lake House.
I know, right? Yeah.
Also, friend of the site, Janina is in it.
Yeah.
I want to see. I want homegirl to get the work, and I'm excited.
I'm excited too, and it looked good. It looked good in what they showed.
You know what? It's spooky enough. Maybe Monday, I'll fire it up or something.
We'll have some. We have like 4 days next week leading into Halloween, right? So
yes,
we can do some spooky stuff next week. Finally, Star Wars Outlaws got its biggest update yet, I believe. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor. Star Wars Outlaws didn't get the ratings the developers were hoping for, nor the sales Ubisoft was hoping for, but fortunately they have no plans to give up on their new adventure. Instead, they are working hard to improve it according to the community's wishes and polishing off various technical shortcomings. Now it's time for another update, number 1.3, and in the huge patch list we find, among other things, better stealth features, smarter NPC enemies, more frequent autosave, better checkpoints, and also technical improvements like more stability and less frame rate drops. That's kind of like, that's the murderer's row right there for the things people wanted improved. So if those things are significantly better, the game should be much better for most people. I think that the pain points early on are going to be the stealth sections for some people, and they already did lighten those a little bit, made them a little bit easier, and if they're improving the gameplay itself, I think that's going to be nothing but a big help to get people into the meat of that game, which is going from planet to planet, talking to different scoundrels, things like that, kind of just stumbling across card games. That's the stuff that was really working for that. So yeah, the instant fail stealth sucks, says Bungus in chat. That was the stuff that really seemed to turn off a ton of people. They're just like, I don't want to put up with this, Ubisoft. What are you doing? They have toned that down a lot.
Yeah, I think the holiday season, Grubb, is going to be a good injection of new eyeballs for this game, especially hearing all the positive buzz that has come out since, and then hearing all the updates that the devs have put in to adjust some things. That I think Outlaws will have a second life during the holidays.
Yeah, NPC. Yeah, go ahead.
Also, unfortunately, if it goes on discount during Black Friday and the holidays, then that is fulfilling like the Ubisoft.
Yes, the
promise.
prophecy.
Yeah, the prophecy.
It's inevitable. NPC AI, that was also something that people were really annoyed about. They just looked dumb. They would just do dumb stuff constantly and look helpless. So if they can just improve that stuff a little bit here and there, I think it'll make a big difference to most people. Coming to Steam in November, and I think there will be another big update at that time. And I bet there will be a pretty decent sale not long after that as well for this game. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for this game. All right, that does it for the news that I have here in front of me. Let's get to the poll question. I'm going to get that set up because I was showing off those Everwild videos instead. So this poll's going to be over there. There we go. Okay, did you play Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown? 2.7 thousand people voted. 66% said no. 34% said yes. So 1/3 of respondents say they played this. There's always going to be somewhat of a selection bias where the people that didn't play it might not even vote. But I don't know. You bake that in for these kinds of results. 1/3 of respondents saying they did play it is pretty good. So maybe it was more than I was expecting, I think. Of course, I would want more people to play it. But yeah, it's real good. I hope more people actually do end up doing exactly that.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. It really stinks for that team because it's such a solid game.
Yep, and especially they pitched a sequel and they had more they wanted to do, and I bet that would have been really cool. And someone in chat earlier also mentioned well, just take that team and make a different Metroidvania, make a Splinter Cell side-scrolling Metroidvania. I'm like, oh yeah, that would be all like Shadow Complex. That would rule. But yeah, well, we're not going to get that stuff. We're going to get a Rayman game, which I also am excited for. So if it ever comes out, we'll see. Got a new poll question. We'll get to that here in a second. Before we do that, Jan, what do we have happening on Giant Bomb for the rest of the week? Where can people on the internet as well and all that good stuff?
Later today, we're going to do a Connectivity Compadres. We're going to play Echo Point Nova. As well as a voicemail dump truck later today. Tomorrow, another episode of Game Mess Mornings, as well as the Astrobot Invitational 2. And we're going to cap off the week doing a BCR, doing the Mount Rushmore of spooky games.
Yay.
And folks, if you haven't seen the plans, we've announced our Extra Life plans for the most part. Some more GB members, GB family members may fill in the miscellaneous remaining slots as the week progresses.
Yep, it's plenty of fun stuff. It's going to be a good time. Tune in for all of it. All right, new poll question. Which of these games do you think you'll be playing first? Everwild from Rare, Beyond Good and Evil 2, a new Rayman, or none of these will ever come out? Those are your four options. You can go vote on youtube.com/@giantbomb. There's a community tab there. You click on that. You can vote. We'll get the results. Talk about it on the show tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, we'll have Tam back. I believe Tam should be on the show tomorrow for Dregs Day. I'm looking forward to seeing more people talking about that Nintendo playtest. Looking forward to any other news that comes out. But in the meantime, I'm going to be playing a lot more Astro, Jan. That's what I got to do. Gotta do it.
That's your lake house.
That's my lake house. That's right. That's Janina Gavankar was in there yelling at me and be like, go faster, go faster. I'm like, all right, Janina, I'll do what I can. All right, Jan, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
It's the only way to start a Thursday, Grubb.
Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself and goodbye.
Bye-bye.